I was born in Edmonton, 1949, and we moved here 8 months later. Actually, we moved to Beaton, down the other northern arm of the Arrow Lakes. And we started there in 1950 with my grandparents. They bought a piece of land there. And from there, Dad decided that both me and my sister needed an education better than in Beaton because there was only a one-room school there. So he looked for property in Revelstoke and found a piece 4 miles south of Revelstoke. So he bought it, and that's where I grew up. So basically most of my life in this town. And one day we started hearing rumors that they're going to flood the place. They're building a dam. And this was going on for a few years, and then all of a sudden some guy come up, some guy in a suit, saying he wanted to take a look at the place, and they were sending out surveyors and checking the land and this and that. And so then the reality sets in that we are getting bought out. And so Dad didn't want to leave, so he tried to get a lawyer, but apparently all the lawyers were involved with hydro. Like, they didn't really want to deal with or fight with hydro, so that was a lost cause. But anyway, we got to talking about exchanging land in the Okanagan or somewhere. So they took the whole family to check out some properties in the Okanagan and other places in Kamloops, but it was the comparison to the land from this valley to anywhere else is like a desert to a jungle, or like, it was pretty poor land. There was no comparison. When you sell to hydro, you don't sell at a good dollar. It's what they give you, and that's how it ended up in, when was that, 65, I guess. Sometimes there was a lot of anger amongst all the neighbors. They're always talking about this and that. And there was some neighbors who were quite adamant about not moving. But they actually did find lawyers and did fight, but it never went to amount to much. So it just, people from, like, say, Vancouver or wherever they're from, these guys that are hired, they knew they had to do a job, and they come in and say, well, this is what you're offered, and goodbye. I mean, that's all. There was nothing that you could say or do about it. It wasn't, well, let's negotiate. There was no such thing as negotiating at that time. And I remember, like, the surveyors would come on the property and do whatever they were doing, but there was no permission asked or anything. As a matter of fact, I think I remember vaguely being in the house with my mom and my sister, and this guy, or two guys, walked into the house without knocking, and kind of looked around, and, I'm with my mom talking, or listening, and these guys just walked into the house, like, I thought it was strange at that time, and I was just a kid, so I don't know if they'd get away with that now. There was absolutely no respect there. It was just, you were expendable. You're off the land because we're flooding it. And that was their attitude, and that's the way it went. There was no getting away from, well, I'm not moving, because they're going to flood you out anyway. The farm itself was 40 acres, right on the Columbia River, and the water table was high enough that we never had to irrigate anything. You threw a seed into the ground and it grew, and the soil was so fertile, you didn't have to fertilize or anything. So it was a good thing that way. And of course, 40 acres, you basically have a mixed farm. You have your chickens, pigs, and cattle. We had 7 cows, and we did the milking, and no machinery. It was milking by hand. So that's one of the chores of a young person, is milking morning and night. So once everything settled out, like this is the thing, they offered next to nothing for a piece of land. Or like an acre was, if it was undeveloped, it'd be $150 per acre. And if there was a barn or a building on there, it went up to, I think, $300. And so with 40 acres, you're looking at about what, 37,000 or something, or less. Oh, way less. Yeah. Anyway, there was very little money involved in that sale. And when Dad bought in town, he had to keep on working. It wasn't like make a whole big pile of money because you sold your piece of land. You had to keep on working and pay for that land. That's one of the things that really upset everybody, because their land, they could live on it, make a little bit off the land. Plus, most everybody had a job on the side, like with government work, probably cleaning ditches or working for CPR, but they still made a little bit on that farm too, by selling things and farming. So I think the main regret is how they come in and just kind of railroaded you. You didn't have an option to say, oh no, I'm not leaving, or oh no, this, give me something comparable. It wasn't that way. It's you do this and that's it. I mean, nothing involved about fairness as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's pretty regrettable to see the land all getting flooded. Essentially what's happened is this whole valley got pillaged and all the money taken out of this valley and moved to Vancouver for a lot of years. And now it's building up. Now there's, a bigger diversity here, and it's slowly recuperating. But there was a very rich valley here with the logging and the farming. All the communities from here to the States basically were destroyed. So that's a lot of people and a lot of money. And I don't think that's right, but how do you stop progress? That's the thing. Do you get compensated for it, or just accept it? I was out of high school already and moved on and living by myself, and we got to talking about old days, and I said, oh yeah, one year there I was following some Caillou tracks and went across the Columbia River. I almost got a spanking then too. He says, you fool, you. Because you know how the river is quite swift, and it could make narrow or thinner ice, and you could disappear. So he almost gave me a spanking 5 years later. But anyway, one of those things that a kid does and survives. In the old days, even the houses around here had ice houses, and they would harvest ice from mostly slower water, not off the Columbia, because the water was quite swift there. And something you'll never hear is a breakup on the ice on the Columbia River in the spring. It sounds like the whole world's coming at you. That noisy, like this summer you heard the thunder and lightning, thunder so loud and everything. Well, that's constant in this valley for days. Just that noise of big icebergs going down the river and crunching against the gravel and gouging out like 20 feet of gravel and carrying on. It was quite awesome.